Hello everyone. So in this video, I'm going to discuss about the pharmacodynamics. So as the dynamics means in this we study the effect of a drug. D for dynamic and D for drug. Effect of a drug on our body. So what is the effect of drug in our body? We have to study under the pharmacodynamics. So suppose here this is the drug. This one is a drug which bind with the receptor which bind with the receptors, and after that it produces action. So in this way a drug perform its function. Like first drug came into our body and it bind to a receptor, and after binding with receptor it produces action. So here when the drug bind to a receptor, this here is known as affinity. This is known as the affinity. While after drug bind to the receptor, so then it produces its action, then it is this is the intrinsic action. This is intrinsic action. So intrinsic action means, what do we mean by intrinsic action? Intrinsic action, we mean the ability of a drug to produce its action. How much ability does a drug contain so that it can produce its action? So ability of a drug to produce action. That is the intrinsic action. Well, the affinity is represents the binding ability of a drug to a receptor. That is known as affinity. So what do we mean by affinity? Affinity, we mean that ability of a drug to bind its receptor. Ability of a drug, ability to bind the receptor. That is known as the affinity. Now, based on this intrinsic action, we categorize the drugs like in four categories, that is agonist. So here, based on intrinsic action, we categorize drugs in four types of drugs on the basis of their intrinsic action. The first one is the agonist drug. So agonist means that drug which produce its maximum action after binding to a receptor. So agonist has a maximum intrinsic activity, or we can say that it can produce maximum action. It can produce maximum action. The second one is the partial agonist, means they partially activate, they partially produce its action and partially does not produce its action. So that is a partial agonist. So they have sub-maximum, means they don't have the maximum intrinsic activity, but they have sub-maximum action. They can produce sub-maximum action. The third category which comes is the inverse agonist. Inverse agonist. Inverse agonist means the suppose a drug has to increase the heart rate, but that drug is decreasing the heart rate. It means that that particular drug decrease its total action. So that is inverse agonist. Means that it produces the opposite action. It is producing opposite action. Now the fourth category is the antagonist. Antagonist. So in the antagonist, what do we mean by antagonist? Antagonist means that drug does not produce its action. It does no action is there. After giving that drug, there is no action. That is known as antagonist. So there is no action. That is antagonist. So now when we give the antagonist, it means that only that drug is occupying that particular receptor, but it does not produce its action. So in this antagonist, the drug only occupied the receptors. Drug occupied the receptor and it will interfere other drugs. Means the drug which is, suppose this one is the drug which is increasing the heart rate. Okay. Now we give another drug. So this drug, we give this drug now. So this drug, what will this drug will do? It bind to that receptors and it inhibit a drug which increases the heart rate, means it occupy a receptor. So that is a antagonist, means they does not produce any action. Now after this we have some signal transduction mechanism. So for the signal transduction mechanism, what do we mean by signal transduction mechanism? In this we have some receptors, like first one is the inotropic receptors. Inotropic receptors, in which ions plays the more important role. They act as receptors and they are fastest acting receptors. So fastest acting receptors were the inotropic receptors. Please remember that they were fastest acting receptors. And the second one is the enzymatic receptors. Enzymatic receptors means the receptors were enzymes. They increase the enzymes activity and by that it produces action. So in enzymatic receptors we have the tyrosine kinase receptor. We have tyrosine kinase receptor. While in the inotropic receptors we have the ions like sodium, like potassium. So these all were ions. So in this we have these receptors works like GABA, NMDA receptors, AMPA receptors, NN receptors, NM receptors, or serotonin receptors. So these all were the comes under the inotropic receptors. While under the enzymatic receptors, it comes like tyrosine kinase receptors. So tyrosine kinase receptors, we have to remember that in this cytokines, all cytokines were act by the enzymatic receptors. Cytokines, interleukins, or tumor necrotic factor, or we can remember by one mnemonic, that is the PIG. So PIG is a mnemonic for enzymatic receptors. These were the example of enzymatic receptors where the P stands for the prolactin, P stands for prolactin, I stands for the insulin, and G stands for the growth hormone. G stands for growth hormone. So this comes under the enzymatic receptors. And the third receptors is G protein coupled reaction. G protein coupled receptors. So, or we can write GPCR, that is G protein coupled receptors, or the other name is like 7-pass serpentine receptors. So 7-pass serpentine receptors. We can say 7-pass or serpentine receptors, or the other name for that is heptahelical receptors. Heptahelical receptors. So, how the G protein coupled reactions it works? So, how it works? Suppose we give a drug, that is drug, it acts on a receptor. So, these receptors will activate the G protein receptors, and as we all know, G protein have three units, that is alpha, beta, and gamma units. So, what will happen when 3-1 is there? Then it breaks GDP into the GTP. So here GDP break down into the GTP form and it produces action. So like if here G receptors, this G receptor, if it is of GS, GI or GQ, these three forms of receptors of G were there. So GS, it increase the activity of adenyl cyclase, so it increase the cyclic AMP level. While the GI, it inhibit the adenyl cyclase, so it decreases the cyclic AMP level. While the GQ, it increases the calcium channel. So it increases the calcium ions. By how it increases the calcium ion? So GQ, it have PIP2 and it convert PIP2 into IP3 form plus diacylglycerol. It break down the PIP2 and IP3 will increase the calcium, and IP3 here act as the second messenger. Here the second messenger is IP3, not the cyclic AMP. Please remember, second messenger in GQ form is the IP3. So in this way it works. So here I am going to give an example of the G receptors, that is the adrenaline. So as we all know, adrenaline have both receptor, that is alpha and beta. So alpha receptors is present on the blood vessels. So it present on the blood vessels, while the beta receptor is present in the bronchus. So beta receptor is present in the bronchus. So alpha is for constriction. So alpha is for constriction. So alpha receptors constrict and it increases the calcium ion and it vasoconstriction will be there. While in the beta bronchus, so beta receptors of bronchus, there is increased level of cyclic AMP and which leads to the dilation. So adrenaline is doing both functions. That it constricted our blood vessels also and it dilates the bronchus also. In this way, adrenaline works. And when there is constriction means the tachycardia is there. So after this we have the fourth type, that is the intracellular receptors. So intracellular receptors. So in the intracellular receptors, what do we mean by intracellular? Means the receptors were either present in the cytoplasm or either they are present in the nucleus. That is the intracellular receptors. So all the lipid soluble drugs, they easily cross the membrane and they act on the receptors that is present in the cytoplasm or either in the nucleus. So and they are the slowest acting. All the slowest acting drug act by intracellular receptors. So slowest acting drug. So now in this either as I told you, either the receptor is present in the nucleus or it is present in the cytoplasm. Please remember, nucleus or either in the cytoplasm. Now intracellular receptors were known as the nuclear receptor superfamily. Please remember, nuclear receptor superfamily. Superfamily. They were known as nuclear receptor superfamily. Means if the receptors were present in the cytoplasm or either the receptors is present in the nucleus. So when the receptors is present in the cytoplasm, we have to remember with mnemonic, that is CD. Means those receptors which are present in the cytoplasm, the drugs, those drugs were like corticosteroids. All the corticosteroid drugs, they act on the cytoplasmic receptors, and the vitamin D, it also acts on the cytoplasmic receptors. While on the nucleus receptors we have PSVT. P stands for the PPAR, that is peroxisome proliferate activation receptors, and S stands for all the sex hormones like estrogen, progesterone and testosterone. V stands for vitamin A, and T stands for T3 and T4, that is thyroid hormone. So all these were present in the, all these drugs receptors were present in the nucleus. So for this we have to remember which receptors is present in the cytoplasm and which receptors is present in the nucleus. So for the corticosteroid drugs, the receptor is present in the cytoplasm and for also for vitamin D, but for the PSVT, the receptors were present in the nucleus. So this all about the receptors. Now the next one is the dose response curve. Dose response curve. So for this we have to understand the potency, efficacy and slope. Potency, efficacy and slope. These three we must remember, that what do we mean by the potency, efficacy and slope, because one question is very important. This year also one question came from this topic, that is dose response curve. So that is DRC. In short form, that is DRC. So here I am drawing for the first one. First question is, what is the slope of DRC? So DRC slope is hyperbola. DRC slope is hyperbola. Please remember that for DRC the slope is hyperbola. Now how the slope is? So here is the dose and here is the response. Here is the response of a drug. So it will increase, like as we increase the dose, the response of a drug is increases, but at a particular time it becomes the constant. At a particular time it becomes constant. So this is the curve for the dose response curve, that is the hyperbola. Now if we log DRC, what is the slope for log DRC? That is the sigmoid. Please remember, in question you have to see Either they are asking simple DRC or they are asking about the log DRC. For the log DRC, the curve is sigmoid form, while for the simple DRC, the graph is in the hyperbola form. Or we can also, like, here is the response of a drug and here is the dose of a drug. So log of D. So as we increases the drug, then it will increasing like this. It will increases like this. So this is the slope for the log DRC. Now what do we mean by the potency? So for potency, we have one simple trick to identify that which drug is more potent and which one is less potent in a graph. So please remember that drug which is more to the left side, that is more potent. So left side drug, we can say left side line is more potent. Left side is more potent. So and the right side one is less potent. This is the simple trick which we follow while solving questions in a graph. Right side is less potent. So now I want to give you example that how we understand. So suppose this is a graph, this is a log D and this is a R. Now here I am asking you, you have to tell me which drug is more potent and which one is less potent. So here this is A, B and C. So I am asking which drug is more potent, uh, A drug, B drug or C drug. So for here the A line is in more left side. So A line is in more left side. So this line is more left side. So it is more potent. So A is more potent while the less potent drug is the C1. Less potent drug is the C1. So in this, by this method we can easily identify which is more potent drug and which one is the least potent or less potent drug. Now the next next trick which I will tell you about that is the efficacy. Now how we can identify which drug has more efficacy and which drug has less efficacy. So for the efficacy we have to remember that which is at higher level. So drug which is at higher level, drug at higher level is more efficacious, has more efficacy, and the drug which is at low level has least efficacy. Now for this, I am again giving you one example. Just remember this trick that at higher level more efficacy, in the left side more potent. So here I am giving you again one graph that is about the log of D and here is the response. So suppose this is one drug and this one is the other drug. Uh, and this one is the different drug. A and B. So here I am asking which drug is more efficacious. So here the answer is B. So B is more efficacious than the A drug. So based on the efficacy, we can suggest that which we can choose the drug which is more efficacious. So efficacy is more important than the potency because more efficacious the drug is, then that drug is more safe. That drug is more safe. So we have to remember this point that more efficacy will be there and the drug is used for more safe because that in low dose if we give, how we can remember it. uh, Suppose we give one drug at 10 gram, this drug produce its action, start producing its action. So if and at as we increase its dose, here suppose we give 50. So at that time, that drug has maximum its that drug produce maximum its action. So when this drug is producing maximum action, it means that this drug can lead to coma also. This drug can lead to coma also only at 50 degree. But the drug which is more efficacy, suppose this drug has more efficacy, so when we give it at higher dose, that is 50, so in this we see that this drug is not producing much action, so that it lead to coma. So this drug is more safe. So as compared to efficacy and potency, the drug which is more efficacy is the more safe drug, and we use clinically those drugs which are more efficacious. So this is the thing about efficacy which we must know. And for the slope, safety of a drug, if the slope is more flat, then that slope is more safest. So here also we can see that this line is more flat and as compared to this line. So which line is more safe? So B line is more safe. B slope is more safe. So in this way, efficacy, potency, and slope we can identify. I hope all these concepts will get clear. After this, we have that is the lethal dose and the median effective dose. For that, we have to remember that TILE, T-I-L-E, T-I-L-E. T stands for therapeutic index, therapeutic index. L stands for LD, and E stands for ED. So LD stands for lethal dose 50, and ED stands for median effective dose, that is, this is the therapeutic index. This is the formula for therapeutic index. So ED 50 means we can say that effective dose when 50% response to that dose. So dose which is efficacy at whose efficacy is 50% at that particular amount of dose. So this is the mnemonic to remember how we can remember the TILE therapeutic index formula so that we don't get confused. After this, we have the therapeutic index monitoring. Therapeutic index monitoring, that is TDM, therapeutic index monitoring. So for this index, why we are studying about this therapeutic index monitoring? Because if we give a less quantity of a drug is less, if we give less quantity of that drug, or if we give more quantity of that drug, then it will produce side effects. Suppose if we give less, then no effect of that drug, and if we give that drug in high quantity, then it leads to the side effect that it can also lead to the coma. So that's why we have to manage the dose of every drug. So that is therapeutic index monitoring. We have to monitor the dose of the drug. So for this, because there is very narrow therapeutic index is there, so we have to do it. So for this, which drug have therapeutic index? For TDM, we have a mnemonic, that is a drug a drug possessing low therapeutic therapeutic index. So this is the mnemonic for TDM. Now A stands for the aminoglycoside, aminoglycoside, that is an antibiotic. D stands for the digoxin. P stands for phenytoin, that is an anti-epileptic drug. L stands for lithium or mania, which we use for mania or bipolar disorders. We use the lithium drug. And T stands for tricyclic antidepressant, that is a depressant drug, antidepressant drug. And I stands for immunosuppression. I stands for all the immunosuppressive drugs. Like we have example like tacrolimus. The other example is like cyclosporine. Cyclosporine. All these were immunosuppressive drugs. So TDM is done when the effect of drug is not monitored. So in all this, we have to do a drug therapeutic index monitoring. We have to do in all these drugs. The mnemonic of for doing therapeutic index. So for TDM, in these drugs we have to do TDM, that is a drug possessing low therapeutic index. Now, TDM is done when the effect of drug is not monitored. So we have to do the TDM, means therapeutic drug monitoring we have to do. And when there is very narrow therapeutic index also, then also we have to do. And the drugs whose have should have inconsistent pharmacokinetics, in those drugs also we have to do the TDM. So this is the mnemonic for the TDM, and that's all for today. In next class, I will tell you about the pharmacogenetics and clinical trials. I hope this video will get benefit to you. Thank you. Bye bye guys.